So hello guys, welcome into our new lecture. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss a very important topic which is known as exception handling. So in today's lecture we are going to see that why do we need exceptions and how can we handle different kinds of exceptions. So basically exceptions are used to control the errors which just crash our program. So let me just show you through our code. So I am going to take a variable here like a is equal to 5 and I'm just assigning the value to a. Let my kernel just complete. So now when I am going to divide a by 0 and then I am going to run it, so we can see that we are getting 0 division error. So basically we are getting a red error on our console. Now let me just show you another thing like if we want to open a file like with open and then we are going to take the file name. So I'm just taking a random file name which is not present here. I'm just taking that file and I'm going to open that in read mode. So as f and let me just f is equal to open file, then I'm going to open that in read mode. I'm going to take a print statement here. So actually our file does not exist, but we are going to open it in the read mode, and this is print next to open file. So let me just execute it. So we can see that we are getting this error that no such file or directory available. So basically how can we handle such type of errors, like it is just covering our whole screen with this such type of random errors, and which is not understandable for the non-technical person. As a programmer we can understand that what error it is throwing, but for a non-technical person it would not be easy for him to understand. So how can we basically make this understandable to non-technical users as well, so that our program does not crash, and if any exception or error occur, so it should handle that exception. So let me just use try block. So try will basically try that it should work. Like I'm going to take this same code, f is equal to open, and then I'm going to say that test.txt file, and then opening in the read mode. Then now I am going to try this, that open the file in this read mode. So then we can use except. So if first it will try, if it will not work, then it will go to the except. So we are going to here in except, we are going to handle the exception. So this is the main exception class, like parent class. It contains all type of exceptions inside it. So we are going to call this as an alias as e, and when any exception occurs we want to print that exception here. So like the exception occurred is comma e. So we are passing that alias e as exception here, and let me just execute it. So we can see that we are getting the exception error, and then our exception is handled very beautifully in the type of a single line. Like we are just getting this error, we are not getting this ugly error on our screen. And now if we want to print something, like after the except we want to print, earlier we wanted to print that this is the next uh, print line to open file. Let me just execute. So you can see that now our print statement is also getting executed. So it is not crashing our program, it is just handling that exception, that this exception occurred because there is no issue of the syntax. Like our program syntax is pretty much clear, but there is some exception which is occurring, so we are handling that exception very beautifully in the print statement. And now it is not crashing our program, it is just displaying us the exception that which occurred during the execution of our program, and then it moved to the next line of our code and then printed that statement for us. So let us just take our previous code here. So I'm going to just take this code, and now we are going to take this code, like we are going to open a file in the write mode, and then I'm going to use f.write, and then if I write here that this is my test text file, and I'm just going to remove this print statement. Now if I execute this program, so we can see that we had opened a file in write mode. So first it will check that if the file is present. If not, then it will create and open it in the write mode, and then we can write inside it. So now if we execute it, so we can see that we are not getting any exception printed. Like after the exception we are not getting any exception. So basically it does not like throw exception when the code is working true, like it is working in the same direction in which we want to implement our code. But so now we had written inside a file, so we have to close it. So I'm going to just close our file, and now if I just execute it, so now we can see that our text is got written inside our text file. So now we are seeing that if our program is working fine, then it is not going into the exception block. So this method should be implemented in our type of functions. Like if we are going to create some functions, so we have to write our function inside try block, and then we have to handle any kind of error which can occur during like it can handle any kind of exception which occur during the execution of our program. So now we have seen that if our code is working perfectly fine, then it is not going into the exception, and it is just directly going to execute the try block first. So there is another important block which is known as else block inside try except. So this else block will only execute when our try block executes successfully. Like here we had opened a file in write mode, so we are writing in the file. So now we can use this f dot close in our else piece of code as well. So I'm going to use f dot close, and then I am going to I'm going to print that this will get only executed when our try block is executed successfully. So this will execute when try block is executed successfully. And now if I run it, so we can see that we are coming into our else piece of block, like it is executed successfully and it does not print any exception. So now we are getting this print statement. And let me just copy this code, and let us see that if our try block does not complete successfully, then our else block executes not. So I am just going to like take another file like test1 in our read mode. So I'm going to take this file in read mode, and if we are so now our file is in read mode, and now there is no need to close. Like so we can see that we are getting printed this exception error is and the file, that no file directory, because there is no such file. We have test.txt but not text1.txt. so we are getting this exception, and then we are not getting this else piece of block getting executed for us because the try block does not execute successfully. So here we had seen practically that if our try block executes successfully, then else would execute. In the same manner, if the try does not execute, then else will not execute as well. So basically we can use any number of try and catch, try and exception to handle any kind of exception and try any kind of piece of code. So I'm just going to discuss another very important block which is known as finally block. So finally block will execute at any case either our try runs successfully or not. Like if we are not handling any exception, then in that case as well our finally block will execute. So basically here we are trying to open a file test1.txt in the read mode, but we don't have that file. So I'm going to take a finally block here, and then in the finally I'm going to print that this will run in any condition. So basically we are trying to open a file which does not exist in the read mode. So and then we are taking the finally. So finally will execute any condition, like if our code is working fine or not, it will execute successfully. So I'm just going to run it. So we can see that our finally is printed here. So our print statement in the finally piece of block is printed here, but the try block is giving error that file does not found, like no such file or directory. So here we had seen that in any condition our finally piece of block will execute successfully. Like if we want to close our file, if we are writing inside a file, so we have to close that file in any case. So we are going to close our file in the else piece of block, in finally block. And then if we want to close our database connection, so what if we send a request and our database port is open, so at the end of our request we have to finally close the connection. Irrespective of our request fails or not, we have to finally close our database connection. So that's it for today. So we had basically discussed about the exception handling and seen all the four important blocks, which are try, except, else and finally piece of block. So that's it for today. See you in next lecture.